Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another edition of the CCA California Podcast. Wow, we've got a crowded room.
A full room
with old friends.
We have a gaggle of goons here with us today, gentlemen.
I should have let off with that. That's perfect. Well, these two individuals really don't need any more introduction. We've got a blast from the past, Kevin Nakada.
Yeah. I can't remember the last episode I was on, but you guys cleared 100, so it's been a while.
Yeah, it was about 100 ago that we last saw you.
Yeah. The pre-Tony era. Pre-Tony.
When she was... So the last one was at my house then?
Oh, yeah. No, I was actually in here. I've been in here before, but it was not all nice like this.
You were in here before? I thought you ditched us to go bluefin fishing.
No, I missed out on that one.
Oh, that was the other
yeah.
one.
We caught it. We caught him, too. I had to go.
Also, another man who needs no introduction, friend of the podcast, Jeff Mariani. Jeff, what's up?
How are you guys? Thank you for having me, as always.
Good, man. Good
Glad
to see
to be
you.
here.
Good to be back.
How are things on the island?
Everything's good. Winding down. Season's over, so 2024 in the books, and
25.
Planning 25, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's start there. How was 2024? I know you got a chance to go fishing quite a bit on the island. How's the island in general, and just what's new?
It fished really well this year. It was a big fish year down there for sure, if I have to say anything. Lots of 50-plussers for all the tours down there. Yeah, lots of big fish, lots of white sea bass, and it seemed like all the tours were focusing on the black sea bass this year. And if they took their time, you know what I mean, they were able to get some fish. So, lots of those fish were caught this year as well. So, overall, I think a great year. I felt the calicos bounced back. It was like a bounce back year. Zones that I didn't get bit before, or like when I first started going, I guess back in 2011, 12, those zones were hot and then it kind of filtered out. Those zones are like biting again. So, I think it was, tons of bait. So lots going on. It was great. It was a great year.
It should bounce back. I mean, Darren hasn't been there in a couple of years.
And you.
Yeah.
So,
at least I don't
took it easy on everything. Yeah.
Here we go, man. Here we go.
Oh, man. That's awesome. That's good to hear. And 2025 is going to be an epic breakout year for you.
I think so. I'm really focused in on Cedros for next year. And so, the goal is to be down there as much as possible. And starting right here, right now, getting the word out. You know what I mean? Letting everyone know. We're already taking
But we got
spots,
to get on your calendar now in order to do that.
It would be nice, to get you guys signed up for a trip. And, Tony, for sure, all of you would be fantastic.
Why don't we get our group to go back there this year? If our group isn't good, I'm going this year.
Okay.
25.
All right. Let's do it.
I'm down.
The house is awesome, man. Mike, the crew, everything, everything's the same, kind of, you know what I mean? Just the plants are bigger, like I tell everyone. Plants grew.
Tony, you're going to love it. I mean, it's we were just talking before we kicked it on here. I mean, it's just phenomenal place. It's really like home. It really is feel like your buddy's house, and we've already alluded to that many times too.
Yeah, I always feel like the elephant in the room that's never gone to Cedros, and even in like the fishing community, everyone always talks about their Cedros trip. I'm like, yeah, so I've heard. It just sounds so great. Maybe one day.
Yeah, and you've got a badass ride to get down there too.
Yeah, the plane. You guys are really gonna like this plane.
It's not the same one we flew back in, is it?
No, it's a Turbo Commander, but different.
Okay.
Different owner and same pilot. His brother is the maintenance guy, so same people working on the plane, just different owner. Very nice people. This guy Juan loves fishing. We got our pilot into love fishing now, so he's awesome. Like staying on some of the trips. You know what I mean? They're not flying out. Yeah, staying and fishing and stuff like that. So yeah, it's that is a huge plus to get there in an hour from, we walk across the border, we get to the plane.
Fishing same day.
Fishing by 11. You know what I mean? Like we're on the water. Like we're watching the other plane come in a lot of times. It's just pretty funny.
There's a Instagram reel on that where you were literally bypassing the plane onto the island.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Hate to say, I mean, we sometimes watch them take off, and we're just watching them on the radar because it just takes about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we're on them, and they're always below us. We're at 10,000, almost 15,000 feet by the time we catch them. So
yeah.
Perfect.
It's cool. All pressurized. Like it looks like a Mercedes on the inside. It's really a nice ride. You know what I mean? It's super comfortable, and before you know it, you're there. You know what I mean? Like, and even in inclement weather, if it's foggy or something like that on the island, which it is a lot, he always gets in. I mean, with all the instruments, and he's, when it's been clear, he's plotted his way, so he knows, and he's always gotten us in. So that's another, huge perk on days when they might not be able to get in, or they're sitting around having donuts and coffee, like we're taking off.
Different plane, same pilot that we had.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's still Jesus. It always will be. Like, that guy's a great pilot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Great pilot. So.
That's so cool.
And this guy's coming down next year too, which is great because like I learn a lot when he's there. You know what I mean? Like he opens doors to this fishery for sure. Like Kevin has showed me, like, definitely that, like, there's ways to fish this place that no one's even thinking about. And
hold on. Let's not give the guy.
I gotta give the credit where it's due. You know what I mean? Like, that's
What time
very
are you plan on
important.
going, Kevin?
I honestly prefer. How many times have I gone with you? At least 14, I think.
Yeah.
At
Several.
least.
That's it?
It's all times
Yeah.
of the year.
Yeah, all times of year. I have fished it in spring. The best time, I literally think the best trip that we've ever had was your very first time when you first invited us down.
Yes.
When you got the record?
Yeah.
World record?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brimtail?
Just
what
a
time of
reminder,
year?
everyone.
June.
June?
June, yeah.
It definitely has special things that happen, but I prefer. I really like that trip, but my preference is actually to fish later or super early, because I'd rather go after a big one than a lot of yellows. I'd rather go after one giant yellow. So, like, there's very rare places I think you could get a really good shot at a 50 plus, like, any given cast, and it's definitely at Cedros. Like, there's a lot of fish there, but they're not. If you think about it from a competitive side, if you're out there swimming around and all of a sudden you have gangs of 20 pounders swimming around you, it's a little hard to compete with that. You might be on the fringe of everything, kind of like how everything sets up out here with the scale of fish. It always starts out, smaller and smaller and smaller, and pushes out to bigger, and they're not as common to find, all the big fish. So I think the same thing kind of happens. Maybe not as you might catch more 20 pounders just out of the sheer numbers of them being around, but they might be bigger ones. But I feel like when they're not there, the migratory fish are not there, that's when you have a higher likelihood of catching something like a home guard there.
When was the last time you went, Kevin?
Oh, probably pre-COVID.
2021.
Really?
2021, I think.
That's
we
the
were
last
down
time I
there.
went.
Right before I stopped.
Yeah, it's been a
It
while.
was a sheephead trip.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Sheephead.
We hammered them.
Sydney.
That was my last trip. Yeah, I mean it was a banner trip, and
Big sheephead down there.
Ridiculous. Bring a box of shrimp, man. That shit's for real. Like,
All right,
who would
you
ever
said
thought it? I never would have thought it. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
it's pretty gnarly.
Like, it is. It's really insane.
Fresh shrimp on a dropper loop.
Yeah, honestly, it really won't even matter. I swear to God, it won't matter. You could put it on anything down there, and they'll eat it. There's a lot of them down there.
Yeah.
I think that the ecosystem's really happy and healthy down there because there's so much sheephead. I think the lack of big ones around here and also urchin guys that are pulling urchins off of these local areas have really impacted kelp beds. So when you go to Cedros, like, yeah, there's a lot less kelp than there used to be, but there's definitely a lot of kelp still.
Yeah.
And they don't farm urchin nearly, right? They don't do urchin down there, just abalone. Yeah.
But do you have an urchin problem down there like we do up here in the central northern coast?
Not a problem. I mean, they're there. You know what I mean? But the kelp outgrows any sort of predator. Like, the warm water is the only thing that hurts the kelp down there.
Right.
On the years when it gets warm. Otherwise, no, like, it's bounced back, man. San Augustine, thick over there.
Perfect.
All Pierre the Colorado area on the backside, thick. Thick. North Point, thick. Lots of kelp. So, no, it's bounced back over there really, really well.
Good.
That's good.
So,
Nice.
I wish we could get it to bounce back here.
Yeah.
It'll come. Yeah.
Gotta get rid of the urchins, man.
I think there's a couple of things going on there. I also think that people don't realize how much asphalt and you good there? Wow. The bad thing is you can't see this on the camera angle, right? The mic just fell apart.
There we go.
You're gonna have to hold it now.
Oh my god, this is gonna suck. Anyway, keep going while I figure out my shit.
So one of my things I'm not sure people are looking into, thoroughly enough, especially scientists, is water runoff from the streets. I think water runoff from the streets is actually extremely damaging, more than people think, and I don't think that's talked about enough. Like asphalt's got a lot of really damaging chemicals in it for anybody or anything. Like you wouldn't drink out of the sidewalk off the sidewalk. No one would do that. They're too crazy. Why would you let that go in the ocean? And just ruin our systems. And a lot of that, I used to watch when I used to guide in La Jolla. I would go to the launch ramp sometimes, and it would be overflowed with all this runoff. And there's nothing to stop it from just going straight down all through La Jolla and straight out into the cove. And you wonder what that does. That's probably ain't good. That's probably very not good. So I just wonder if people are even paying attention to that kind of stuff over, fishing, which I think is probably the furthest thing away from damaging our ecosystem, because most people know how challenging it's been for the last few years in La Jolla. It hasn't been very good, but it's not anything to do with overfishing. The people probably spent less time fishing for yellowtail than they ever have because there's big bluefin stuff. So we wonder what happened there. And it's probably because there's hardly an ecosystem compared to what it was, 10 years ago. Seriously, it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
So,
well, now that we got the light stuff out of the way, thank you, Kevin. What the hell have you been up to, my friend?
It's been an interesting year. I drove out last year. I remember being on the show telling you guys I was going to drive out to Florida.
Yep.
And drove my truck out there, set up shop. It's been amazing to learn about the fishery. The fishing is so much different. There's cheap gas, you get ethanol free options, believe it or not. It's really cool. Food's cheaper, everything's cheaper, but the one thing
Quit bragging.
Yeah, quit rubbing it in.
The fishing is really different, and people the fishing's so good that it's definitely a way of life. So like here,
big time.
If here, I would be lucky if I saw another fisherman or someone wearing a fishing shirt in the store, right?
It's an outdoorsman state over there.
One in every two people fish in Florida. That's actually, like, when you look at the amount of licensed sales, it's 1 out of every 2 people are fishing in Florida.
Yep.
And it shows. You drive down the freeway or you go into a store, and all these cars, they all have fishing rods in them. They're just regular guys, just always got a fishing rod in their car, their truck. So very different vibe. I mean, very, very fishing friendly, and everyone's really supportive of initiatives that are pro fishing or conserving nature, opening up the Everglades to getting Okeechobee water. Like, that's been a big deal. So like, people care differently over there, and they speak their mind. And I think that they're instead of the state trying to push back on efforts to allow more fishing, they welcome it. They try to open up other options. Yeah. The federals, part of this is totally different. Like, everyone that's in charge of snapper seasons, all that, they don't have any, they don't care. But the state cares. The Florida people they care. So, very interesting dynamic.
Before you leave, I was showing you pictures from my cousins that live out there and all the stuff that they do. I mean,
oh yeah.
Crazy.
Redfish. Redfish is like.
That stuff I've been seeing that you post out of the kayak, like, that's amazing shit. You're like sight fishing those things. And they're jumbos.
They're jumbos.
They're jumbos.
They're huge.
The equivalent of the redfish is like spotty fishing over here, or calicos. Mm-hmm. It's like it's very accessible
because those redfish get big.
Yeah, but they're accessible.
Yeah,
so
100%. Yeah.
So people, most accessible fishery here is spotties. By a wide margin.
Yeah.
It's your break-in fish around here. And then you kind of grow up one day, or make a lot of money. So you can actually afford to go do the good stuff, right? Yeah. But that's reality, right? So it used to be green bass and trout here, but they haven't done stocks for a while. Not anything worth, talking about. But there's just a lot going on right now. I think, fishing politically, there's areas in this country that are thriving, and one of them is Florida and Louisiana for sure. Those are 2 places that are making huge differences right now.
So, put a pin in that. Jeff, have you been red fishing before?
No.
No?
He's coming.
Well, I was going to say, we should do a trip out there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Red fishing.
Yeah. 2025, I'm going to be just fishing. That's my goal.
When you go over there, though, I always tell people, especially if you're single or you just do fishing and you're single, like if you go over there, you might be just getting a one-way ticket. And you might not come back, dude. Like,
Are you speaking from experience there, Kevin?
so I mean,
He brought his sand to the beach.
yeah, it's a hard decision. That's pretty good, actually. Where'd you get that from?
It just came to him.
That's pretty good.
I've heard it before, but I won't take a hold.
That might be the title of this podcast. Actually.
That's a great one.
So I'm gonna see my cousins or one of them in probably early December.
Yeah, that's still
I think it's
good.
early December. He told me I'm flying into Atlanta. We're gonna go duck hunting in Georgia.
You're not fishing?
It's gonna be a flying Friday, hunt Saturday, come home Sunday.
Gross.
Well, I'll say that Florida is definitely.
Turn and burn.
Turn and burn.
Yeah, I think that if you don't spend some time in Florida, you're not doing yourself any justice. I think you should.
agree. I've been there numerous times.
Fishing? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Caught a nurse shark out there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, okay. So going back to Florida and all that. So one thing that was interesting that just popped into my mind was when we were at ICAST. It was good time, by the way. But we saw all these signs for something called Prop 2. And are you familiar with that?
No.
So the way that we were told, Tony, do you remember this conversation during lunch?
I will never forget this conversation.
Prop 2, it's a Florida initiative?
It's a Florida initiative, but what they're trying to do is they are trying to make it to where fishing is a right according to the Florida Constitution.
But that's already in the state constitution here.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always has been. Since
But
like
it-
1920-something.
But it isn't currently in Florida, and so they're trying to
Really?
make it. So the whole
Interesting.
philosophy in doing that is they're actually thinking ahead
Yes.
to where if Florida ever gets ruined by people and all that stuff, they're always going to have that right to fish in Florida.
That's smart. So it's going to be put into the state constitution?
Well, it's a prop, so you got to vote on it. And I think it's
That's in the California State Constitution.
Oh, yeah.
it's a right to
Article
fish.
1, Section 25.
Why are we always fighting?
I'm bringing
about
that up. I have a...
Well, this is a great segue.
Do you want me to bring it up?
Well,
Are you what's up with, what were you talking about? You had a story that you were talking about at ICAST.
no, that was the story because basically
There's
saw
more to this story because Tony was all like, yeah, it was an
ICAST,
interesting lunch.
All right, Tony, you lead with it.
No, it was just one of those things because, us Californian people going over to ICAST, we're just looking around and you just, when it's time to eat, you just sit at a table that's open. It's like when you're the new kid at school or it's your first day at school and you don't know who to sit with, you go for the least intimidating table, which I thought that was. So,
Was this your first ICAST?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both of
and
us.
apparently it wasn't.
Well,
You were sitting with the big kids.
Well, there
Who
was
were you sitting with?
There was a family
Yeah,
at the
just a
table.
family.
I thought it was the perfect table to
Yeah.
sit at.
That's
It
awesome.
was innocent where no one was going to bug us.
Yeah,
Yeah. You didn't realize.
but I looked at Chris. I'm like, Chris, and leave it to me to open my big fat mouth. I'm like, Chris, what's this Prop 2 stuff I hear? Because there's signs everywhere, right? And all of a sudden, like 10 people's heads turned our direction.
It was like they were all like it was almost like deer, just all looking at all of us, and it was like we
You're not
said
from
something.
around here, are you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
we couldn't even lead with "Sorry, we're from California."
Nope,
we,
you can't
we
do
had
that
to
one
say, "Hey, we just want to know
Yeah.
what's going on."
Little did we know, we were sitting with that family who happened to know the whole organizer of this whole movement of Prop 2.
Oh,
who was sitting
really?
To the table next to us.
Literally, the table right
Wow.
next to us.
So you got to hear
Sat
it from
right in
the
the frying
person.
pan.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The writer of the prop?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And they were like, I can't remember his name. Bob, get over here. We need to talk. So he was like explaining this whole thing. This thing probably took an hour just to discuss.
That's
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
and at the end of his very long-winded but very educational conversation, he turns to us and he goes, "Why do you ask?" We're like, "We just didn't know what it meant, so
We're curious.
thanks
Yeah.
for
see all the
clarifying, I
signs,
guess."
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But it's that whole philosophy is fascinating to me, to where we're always trying to basically play defense. They're actually going out on offense, to where they're protecting themselves well into the future.
So this person was a senator?
No, he was just a private
Just
student.
some. Oh, okay.
Citizen, yeah. Just like a leader of a movement.
Wow,
It was crazy.
that's awesome.
So I figured, being in Florida now, you'd probably hear more about it, but apparently not.
Politically, I'm still.
Are you still registered?
I am in California for now.
So you can't vote on
the
it.
decision is kind of I'm flip flopping here. I'm not sure where I'll be.
Okay, John.
But I do care. I care about California's fishery. Probably, honestly, I care about the legislative efforts being put into California fishing more than I do Florida, because I think Florida has everything kind of together. To be honest with you, so I
more
feel.
ways than none.
Was that?
In more ways than none.
Yeah. I think people here are definitely not as aware of what's out there as far as when a state is actually correctly ran with fishing policy. I think that it's more or less here. If you find a fisherman, we're such a small community, they could care less about us. But if in Florida, obviously everyone's fishing, so it's like, yeah, you have to care.
What was it? 1 in every 2 person?
What's 1 in every 2 people? Yeah, and that was as of 2021. So with a lot of people moving there from other states, it could have changed, but it is a significant amount of people still. So,
So touching on that, all the people that have moved there from California, what do the Floridians take on that?
well, now they're kind of. A lot of people moved to Tampa,
A lot.
and so people are not doing so good after you had Helene. Milton Helene and then Milton. And so there was a lot of flooding and there was a lot of wind, and then you had these barrier islands that are covered in sand. So some of these people that had a lot of money from moving out of California, now they're not left with so much. Some people, not the majority. And there's a lot of Floridians that are affected by this too. So people are kind of figuring out, is Florida the right state for them? Plus,
They didn't do their research when they moved there is the problem.
No, not just that,
On
but
where to move to.
insurance companies are really responsible for making really weird decisions recently. I mean, even in California, when you have fire
They're leaving
insurance
here. They're
being
leaving here.
evaporated, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a scary time when your investment could just evaporate into thin air, or fires or a flood, So I think the challenge right now for people is trying to figure out, where they align politically, where they align spiritually, where they align, officially.
Nice.
Yeah, officially.
Word of the day.
And they try to set up shop and have the better outlook for their family. So, but yeah, I think that people are definitely challenged moving from California to Florida.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Go ahead. Keep going.
Someone's got a double chin.
No. Just trying to say
Yeah,
something to her.
Darren's pointing at me. I'm
trying
over
to-
here wiping my face.
No, I was trying to signal to her without making any.
What are you
interrupt-
signaling?
I still
think-
don't know.
I think he's saying to still third.
No, yeah.
Oh,
Oh man,
are any of you Dodgers fans?
no,
My son
Okay.
is.
Really?
Gross.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
gross. Anyway.
Oh wow!
I grew up in L.A. Come on, San Pedro.
Wow.
Born and raised Dodgers.
Damn it, Jeff.
See, my whole family's
How's it
split
feel?
because half
How's it
of
feel?
them. Half of my family grew up in LA. The other half doesn't watch baseball. But if they had to choose, they for whatever reason would choose Padres. But I've always liked the Angels because
It's
I
not a
lived in
bad team.
Anaheim.
Yeah.
But
Well, anyway,
A sad topic.
that threw me
Who brought
off.
that one up? Was that me?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
typical.
Well, so okay.
Do you want me to get into the whole thing?
Yeah, I want to. We talked
Do you
about this.
do you have anything else? This might be a long tangent.
I think Jeff's here for the ride.
I'm just waiting on lunch. That's and my space dust.
Okay, so I have a long history with trying to get MLPA in my mind to make sense. Okay, I was affected by it originally because of 2010's decision when things started getting weird, and in 2012 when it was in effect. They started to have these public meetings, and I did one in San Diego, and it was very interesting to watch. Well, aside from just giving you 3 maps to choose from and basically, publicly say what you want, there wasn't really science backed with this. They gave, very little data to back up their ability to actually make this happen for a reason. right? There was very little reason aside from just making sure that animals were taken care of, giving them something exclusive, and having no exposure to, fishermen, in my opinion, or everything else that goes along, right? That was their excuse, is mainly fishermen, but their excuse was any outside interference, they want to make it a preserve. So my issue with this is that you're really already impacting a very small minority of people. Why are you trying so hard to remove their constitutional right from actually, going into an MLPA? What is the reason you're trying to do this? There has to be something else. And so I know it's probably not going to be welcomed on, from a lot of people to hear this, but there's a lot of people out there that are benefiting from taxpayer dollars and from other things that are out there, donations from, just big companies who are putting a lot of research and effort behind this and funding science. And if there wasn't any other reason to do this, I believe that they're just trying to fund science for whatever purpose they are doing. And I don't think they're doing it right, because their decadal review that they did on the MLPAs, that they even admitted that the data is lacking. Like they don't have the ability to even get the data. So what are we doing this for? Like that's my whole question is what's the purpose? Like why are you hitting up a minority in the state? I would even say that on any given weekend, there's probably less than 1,000 boats out there fishing, way less than that. Maybe in the summer peaking out at 1,000.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a lot of people here. So what's the purpose of doing this? So again, I think that there's a lot of money that's misdirected in this, and I don't think that's right. And I think that aside from just specifically talking about people receiving funding for something that they don't actually have a purpose for, I also think it's really going into a constitutional ruling. I don't think it's right because there's specific articles in the Constitution that are protecting the rights for anglers. So again, a very deep rabbit hole I'm about to get into. That was just the preamble here. So,
Jeff's like,
Settle in.
yeah, settle in on this one.
Where's the beer?
So constitutional. I brought this up in a. Remember the Point Loma? They had I did this on a video. Remember we recorded this when who was it that was there from that new board developed for the 30 by 30 initiative?
They're not. Well, it's the CNRA who's running it in the OPC.
Yeah, OPC.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So my question I posed to him, the representative at the time, I think he's probably still on board, but was how they're going to be able to expand MLPAs when you have Article 1, State Constitutional Article 1, the Declaration of Rights, Section 25, which I'll read it for you really quick. It's not too long. Actually, I wrote the short version. The people shall have the right to fish upon and from the public lands of the state, meaning California, and the waters thereof, excepting upon land set aside for fish hatcheries. And no land owned by the state shall ever be sold or transferred without reserving in the people the absolute right to fish thereupon. And no law shall ever be passed making it a crime for the people to enter upon the public lands within this state, California, for the purpose of fishing in any water containing fish that have been planted therein by the state, provided that the legislature may by statute provide for the season when and the conditions under which the different species of fish may be taken. So in there's a very specific part of that article where it talks about stocking, right, by the state, and making it, you can't make it a crime for people to access that water if it ever had a, fish stocked by the state. Well, funny enough, people don't realize that the striped bass has a long history in the States. In sorry, let me get my dates correct. Because I just wrote this down the other day. It actually says on their website too, on DFG. Let me pull it up so I'm not fact checked here. So the DFG.com actually wrote a history, and they kind of misworded some things in there too, because it's actually their responsibility to kind of take onus of this. Back in the day, I'm going to pull up the dates for when this happened. It was the decision of the original Department of Fish and Game to stock stripers in San Francisco Bay. And so over years, right, we're all familiar with striped bass. They ended up not just being in San Francisco Bay because it's part of what? The Pacific Ocean. And it accesses it, right? So what's very interesting about this is that the striped bass have been recorded, not just by fishermen, by scientists. They're caught from San Diego all the way up to Coos Bay, Oregon. So the entire coast is affected by this fish, originally being stocked
That has been stocked
by the state.
You can say the same thing about the sea bass now, right?
No, because that's private.
Okay.
It's not stocked by Fish and Game,
Gotcha.
right? So that's hubs. It's a totally different animal
Okay.
there.
I didn't know if the state was involved with that or not.
They are, but it's not
with
Fish
the
and Game.
funding.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the same people I'm talking about. When it's a decision by Fish and Game, that's when you've got this article that actually goes
It
into play.
applies, right?
Absolutely. And so, come to find out that basically, if you kind of run through legal and you look through the other parts of the Constitution, not just Constitution, but the actual fish and wildlife amendments that have happened, they have their own set of rules that are state laws. They can make rules basically that just kind of supersede the Constitution, which is really dumb. So they can just say, no, we're just going to close it. So, if you take this to court, do you have something to say? Do you have an argument? Yes. But at the same time, the DFG can just do whatever they want nearly, which is kind of crazy, for fish-related regulations. But my argument still is that it's very interesting that they can just go around this without ever thinking about this. You can't technically, if someone was to argue they're right, I mean, you should be able to access an MLPA because you don't know if striped bass have been through there or not, but most likely they have.
100%.
Absolutely. So
There's no net.
There's nothing there to prevent from any species getting in or out.
and it's very interesting that it's not just me saying this, but I have a bunch of downloaded papers, by the way, because I don't know when they're ever going to get erased, but I have documents. I mean, there is multiple researchers out there on the Smithsonian website. There was like 50 references to all this data. It's out there. It's kind of buried now, so that's why I literally just stuff it and make sure like I never lose it. But it's proof, like this stuff is existing out there. It's not just me just telling you there's striped bass in San Diego. It's like there's people telling you. And actually, it wasn't just San Francisco Bay. They stocked them here in San Diego Bay too. So 1879, and then they did another round in 1882. So there's
In
two
San
stocks.
Francisco?
Yes, in two different places. So one was in Martinez, which is a little bit more. It's on the south side.
Yeah.
And then there's Suisun. Is that how am I Suisun? Whatever.
Like,
Suisun Bay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's in the San Francisco Bay.
Yeah.
So, it's very interesting. This is a long time ago. There is proof of it. They came from New Jersey. They brought them here by train, dumped them in San Francisco Bay, and then you see what happens now. The other interesting thing about this is that while they try the same thing, they kind of try to talk about this smelt thing and the salmon thing, but it's almost a self-inflicted wound. Like they're not helping themselves because originally it was a decision from long ago, people that were prior to all of us, that made a decision to bring striped bass, but it absolutely hammered the salmon fishery, right? So you kind of have to put blame on yourselves, and I don't think they're really in the practice of doing that.
Right.
But they should. I mean, it's something they have to help undo themselves, or ask fishermen to help. And I think we've lost the political part of this. Again, money is involved, right? There's a lot of things that are involved with this, but there's a lot of misguided direction, politically speaking, the fishing community here in the state. I don't think it's right. A lot of things they need to kind of think about here. So that's just one rabbit hole. I've got another set, but I'm not going to bring them all up. I also think that municipal laws in the city of Los Angeles, where if you go there and you're fishing a harbor, they're blocking access for anglers to go into a harbor, like into a marina area and fish. Well, that's illegal. You can't do that.
Right.
It's mandated by a state that someone has to be able to access the waterway. It's in the state constitution. That you have to be able to access the waterway. No one can
any
own that.
accessible waterway is fishable.
Correct. Yeah, but you can't do that.
What about the cases where? So I don't know this, right? That's why I'm asking. So you go down to say Point Loma. There's a bunch of those private docks.
Those are different because the docks are private land or private property. So you can't go on a dock, right? But the land, right, the waterway,
The shore.
you should be able to access that. For sure. And the Port of San Diego is even more interesting because they've tried to argue for even public docks that you can't fish off of it, but they actually haven't ever had, something that actually says that in any of their decisions they've made. So they can't actually do that, but they say they can. So it's very interesting. I'm not a lawyer, by the way, so everything you're hearing is just more of like a insight from the public's standpoint. It's
all
not theory. It's
anecdotal.
not theory. It's anecdotal, but it's not theory. It's out there. This is stuff people can research.
What's your suggestion on how we fight that?
Well, I don't think you can really fight it. I think you have to make the unfortunate
Do you have
part.
to bring a lawsuit against the state for it?
Well, so I talked to people about that on my own time, and I think the problem with that is that you can't get enough financial support from the community right now, just because. And I just don't think it's realistic because I think it's a long fight. It's a long fight with, I would assume, and it's what's interesting is that the same person recently who would probably be in this fight was the same person who fought against Huntington Beach's voting rights recently. So I don't think you could win that fight easily. I think it'd be a very long, drawn-out fight, and it would also depend on who's in the office, the governor's office.
We need the right person in the office to even move forward on. Say, hey, look at this.
Well, anyone could do it, but it's expensive, and I don't think that my point being is that it's going to be a long fight. I don't think it's as easy as someone just saying, hey, yeah, I have this this case. We should really look at this. I think it's more of like, okay, what is legally standing in here, and I think more so my supposition of like why we should go to court is more or less not necessarily about that particular constitutional right being affected. I actually think the most relevant one is the lack of data that was pushed for in the decadal review. I think they're trying to expand the MLPA right now.
They are.
And you can't do that. If you're saying the data is already flawed, then why are you trying to tell me that you need more area? That's very wrong. Yep. That's very wrong. You can't do that, That'd be like saying it's what do you call it when the government can just take your land? What is that called?
Seizing.
No, there's a word for that.
Eminent domain.
That guy right there.
That guy.
Yeah. So eminent domain is I think this is very similar to that, and I think that it's actually it's just a less of an issue, compared to because there's a minority here and it's fishermen, and I think that's
under eminent domain, don't they have to compensate you per market value? So how would you compensate the public for taking that land, that part of the ocean and making it an MLPA? How do you compensate us for that?
I think Jeff probably knows about eminent domain probably better than anyone in here. I'm not
probably.
Yeah, just from
because he does it all the time. I bet.
No,
just become homeless. You'll have a better chance of getting paid.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a whole other topic.
You know what I'm saying? Like you'll get paid from that.
That's a whole other topic.
I just think that it's not everyone is going to be able to stand up to that and be ready for that fight in this state quite yet. I think that it's going to take some maturity in the fishing community, which I'd like to talk about maturity in the fishing industry at some point because I think we're also dealing with some headaches getting people that are of a younger age inside this industry, but at some point, I already asked for a 2-hour podcast. I think we're going to eclipse that by a wide margin.
With you saying that, though, I mean, you can see it. There's a lot of younger people coming in and getting more involved in the fishing industry. You don't think so?
No.
What do you mean by
enough.
fishing industry? Because fishing and
the industry
I
are
think
two different
walking
things,
the
yeah.
dock is different.
That's
than-
absolutely.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I think more people are getting experienced by going, and they do hop on boats and become deckhands, or they have like grunt level work. But I'm talking about executive level. I'm talking people that are actually doing something, that are making products, that are making decisions inside of the political world for fishing. I think there's a lot of area here that is lacking as far as new people. There's not enough fresh blood. So, but anyways, I like I said, it could be a long one,
So just to recap what you're saying. So let me see if I follow you. So basically, because they stocked striped bass in the 1870s, 80s.
Yep.
Almost
1878 and 1882 specifically.
Because they stock striped bass in the Pacific Ocean.
And by they, we should say the California Department of Fish and Game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Currently known as CDFW now.
Yeah.
Because they did that, now that basically opened the door for basically that applies to the Constitution where they cannot shut down fishing because technically the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, was stocked with striped bass
Correct.
over 100 years.
That's my argument. Yeah.
And if you were to take this to court, it's going to be on them to prove that a striped bass has not gone through those MLPA.
That would be, they would have to do research to find that.
So if I took that fight to court, it's not up to me to prove that it has or hasn't. It's up to them to prove that it hasn't.
So the problem with this, though, is then you're going to have to you're going to have to bring a scientist in and talk about these striped bass. And I'll tell you right now, when we read the papers for my argument that there are striped bass up and down the coast,
correct,
there's a lot more proof out there that they're pelagic and they run around than there is for them being non-migratory fish.
Right.
So you cannot argue, in my opinion, that they haven't gone through an MLPA or they're not affected by it, right? So, they definitely exhibit, a lot of intercoastal fish behaviors like yellowtail and whatever and white sea bass. And they will go through those areas and they will, you should be able to, my point being is you should be able to access a stock fish by the state, right? You should be able to go after a striped bass wherever it may be.
Yeah.
That should be legally allowed.
Correct.
So, and so if I'm telling someone there's striped bass in La Jolla, which there has been scripts, there's been plenty of fish con scripts. I believe in some cases, Point Loma kelp has had striped bass and salmon as well, going through there from time to time. So, right, it's happened.
Yeah.
And I believe there's even record of it on, these posts nowadays. So you can probably even get, some kind of data from that. But all that being said, how can you tell me that there hasn't been a striped bass that have gone through there? That's my point,
I don't think you can.
It's hard. It's a very hard argument to make against it, yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. If you take it to court, it's up to them to prove that it hasn't happened.
Yes, yeah. And there's plenty of data, like I said, plenty of research papers I have not done, but they are smart scientists that are telling people that they've gone from San Diego to Coos Bay. There's a paper, there's a highly referenced piece of paper that I found. I forget who wrote it, but I have it saved. And it's from 1949 and 1950. And it talks about how the striped bass experienced their migration all the way from San Diego to Coos Bay, Oregon. It's very specific, and it has a lot of data, a lot of survey data. So,
And that's a stock. They're saying their home is San Diego and they're going up, but that's
everywhere in California. Their whole home is California. That's the whole point of the research paper is it goes from San Diego to Coos Bay.
When was that paper published?
1949, 1950. Yeah. I'll pull it up really quick and find the title of it. I have it, so if anyone ever wants, and I'm just kind of a vessel of research, I would rather just give this stuff over to, or share it with someone. I'm not really particularly looking to do, execute on anything, though I'm sure if time made available, I could. I'm very busy nowadays, but I would like to be part of it, so I know.
So my question to you is what made you think of even researching that?
Because I heard a long time ago from some older guys that they stocked originally striped bass in San Diego. And so when I put together the article for my argument that you can't, go against the state, you can't go against fishermen in their constitutional right with
Correct.
the MLPA. That was my original dive into this, and I wrote my own article about it because I wanted to, and I always reference my own article I wrote for Fishing Reps. Literally, I just constantly read it.
Yeah.
And so, because I can't remember all the articles myself, I have to write it down. So I wrote it down so I could access it, not just myself, but everyone else that wants to. But it's just, just referencing constitutional rights. It has nothing, I didn't write them, right? I'm just referencing them. Okay, here it is. So originally, and here's the cover of it, right? It's all, black and white and old. I downloaded it. They tried to bury this thing, so that's why I downloaded it because they're trying to make this disappear. But there's a lot of references in a lot of different papers out there, especially the Smithsonian, and a lot of other people referring to this paper. And there's a number of papers, but this is one. So, the name of the paper is Striped Bass Studies on Coos Bay, Oregon, in 1949 and 1950, and this is the Oregon Fish Commission and the Oregon Game Commission. So this is written by people that had a reason to do this study. And I believe there's two writers of this, Alfred R. Morgan and Arthur R. Gerlach. Those are the two people that worked in the commission. So they did this research in tandem with scientists. But I mean, if I'll show you some data that looks crazy. I mean, there's a lot of information, and that's just Coos Bay, but they talk about and refer to San Diego quite a bit. So, and all of California and the history behind it. Again, I'm not just pulling like history out of my butt here. Like you can go look it up on dfg.ca.gov, and you look up striped bass in the history, and it will tell you. But they won't refer to themselves, in taking the ownership that they ever stocked striped bass. They don't refer to them themselves doing that. So you can't. It's kind of vague. You have to dig in, but for sure it was them. Like there's no question. There is a lot of history behind this in papers that show that the Department of Fish and Game did this. So, and I just got lucky one day. I kind of researched this, and a lot of this came together. But it was about more or less. It was about my rights being affected on the water because I've been yelled at many times to get out of marinas and get out of this and don't fish here, right on the water in San Diego Bay and Mission Bay, wherever, right. So I didn't want that anymore. So I defended myself by making my own, basically just a
paper.
Yeah, just letting myself
cheat sheet.
Exactly, that's what it is. And so I can
all the references. So someone barks at you, say reference 12159er,
and it works.
Yeah,
but I've been left alone many times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to 30 by 30, I think, man, it's almost like they're really threading the needle because they always say, use the fancy terms, biodiversity and trying to make the case for MPAs being useful and helpful and all that stuff. But they also say about how they need to preserve access too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the key to where they're, like I said, threading the needle between shutting fish or more fishing areas down or wanting to or having to versus opening up access for not just us, but, all the key terms, right? The underserved communities or whatnot.
My question to you, on the back side of all this going on and you hearing what you hear, whatever you can say here, why are they trying to do this? What is their bottom line?
That's a great question. And really, that's a whole, I can go on and on and on, but basically the whole point, obviously we know Governor Newsom signed the executive order making it law and they have to do this.
Well, this was from 1999. Let's not get it twisted. It was Jerry Brown that first put this initiative in 1999. That was the original MLPA construct.
Right.
And then it was Newsom and the eventuality that he was able to authorize this that allowed this to happen. But sorry, I'm giving real. You got to give the historical reason. This is a long thing.
Yeah. Quite frankly, I really can't. I don't. There's some things that I can say, and there's some things that I can't. But quite frankly, I don't really know how to answer your question. I don't know.
It's like the ultimate political deviation.
Yeah.
You running for president?
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't understand. I don't really know the end goal here. As far as fishing, like I said, I don't.
They don't even know what the end goal is.
I don't think so. And I think my opinion, the review that from all the data they should have been collecting for 10 years, when I thought it was supposed to be every 5 years. By the way, originally I thought that was what I heard. But it wasn't written down, so no one can call them out. But I thought it was every 5 years they were supposed to do survey data or come up with reviews for the survey data.
Do you think it's more
I think at one point it was 5 years, and then they pushed it to 10 years.
Well,
that's because they weren't going to get the data they wanted.
There's no way they could afford to do it. Yeah, because they have too many areas and think about all the staff. If they already cut down like all the people that were actually enforcing the laws, how are they actually going to be able to go and create more, right, or have more staff to do that, right? You're not working with
they're backlogged as it is.
Yes, absolutely.
For the MLPAs to get started, do you think it was a squeaky wheel gets the grease when it comes to whether they do shut it down or leave it open?
I mean, if you ask me what the reason is, I'm going to tell you something that's probably not nice. And I think...
Go ahead and say it.
I think it's NGOs. I think it's NGOs. I think they're getting big money. I think they're getting millions of dollars for literally putting something together and just saying it works. I don't think there's anything to this. I really don't. I think it's money. And I think it's wrong, and I don't think that there's in any aspect of this, if you're looking at this from a fishing standpoint, who are the people who are accessing this waterway the most? It ain't scientists. Right. It ain't surfers. These are people,
Yeah.
like that are accessing the water for a specific reason. It's to fish, right? Have a good weekend and go out with the family. I just don't. I don't see what other purpose there is aside from getting some money to go and do studies, to do reviews, to see if it works.
Look at the CalCod thing. How early did that thing come back? How many years early?
70 years.
70 years early, and they still won't open it?
Yeah, it's crazy. But I think there was an end goal there. And I think the end goal there was to really inhibit commercial fishing at the time, or even recreational, to the point where it was going to endanger that species. And I get that.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But this just goes to prove that anytime California wants to take something from you,
They're never going to get
you're
back.
not going to get it back.
My point, yeah. And that's why I'm really worried about this expansion of the MLPA, because it's dangerous to keep doing this, because eventually,
So Newsom,
There may
if you're
not be.
listening, we know your game.
yeah. Well, I'd hope you just think about, like, there's people that are really affected by this, and I have some commercial friends. They can't access certain bodies of water, neither can recreational, right? And so eventually, you're pushing fishing so far away from the next generation, they're not going to be interested in doing this, because all they're going to feel is really big anxiety to just go fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been a really big point of mine in fishing in LA. They're so anxious about just going fishing. You literally are like a ninja. You're going out, you're fishing in all black at night, hopping fences, and you feel like you're just a criminal. And it's like, no, you're not a criminal. You just don't know your rights all the way. And I'm telling you, you'll be fine. Like in a court of law, municipal versus state constitutional law, you won't have a problem.
Right.
You're always going to be okay. Like, and I know that because the Attorney General, he tried to fight against Huntington Beach's voting rights that they voted in. The Attorney General will try to reverse that vote. That's wrong.
Yeah.
So he said that state constitutional law and state law supersedes municipal. So there's my argument already. Someone tried to do it and it was from the state, not me. So we're kind of seeing some things unravel right now as far as like who takes ownership of laws and enforcing them. And one of the big things that I've like seen politically change recently with all that's going on as of 2024 is a lot more people are becoming aware of like, what they can and can't do, what the rights are.
They're doing their research.
Doing their research.
Do you think it's too late?
For what?
That people are just now finally starting to come around and figure it out?
For what we're talking about?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's too late. It's never too late. You just got to be able to.
I also think that people need to understand the difference between preservation and conservation.
Yeah, I think that those definitely, and actually conservation's being used more by people who have a different agenda recently, because they know they can reach over and try to pull that away from fishermen. Mm-hmm. They do preservation practices and not conservation. They don't actually access it for reasons nearly as much as us. So they're starting to say conservation more and more, and that word is starting to change very rapidly, and it's affecting our ability to reach over across the aisle and tell people we're benefiting the environment. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the things that people like really need to realize, and the real reason why we're not able to make better decisions as a community, is because it's not big enough. I kind of explained that by being in Florida, kind of seeing things. Even though I'm not proactive in making with CCA in Florida, like and being proactive in helping with this kind of conversation, the attitude of everyone is much different, and they are all game for going after more. They want more. They don't want protection, but they want better fishing. Mm-hmm. So they do slot limits. They do things that are much better compared to here, and they're all for growing fish and having better fisheries. And they'll support that with each other. They'll call each other out too.
I think the slot limit thing works way better than the. I don't want to say it.
Well,
just like if you can keep it if it's 14 inches or bigger.
If there's any argument for how conservation should work, it's the place he's fishing all the time.
Yep.
100%.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, you could talk about all the decades worth of fishing more now that you've done there since even before you owned the thing. I mean, how much difference has it made that people aren't accessing that as much as they used to?
Oh, when they stopped all of the purse seine boats from coming there and taking all the bait, like all the bonita and all the bait fish, the sardine and stuff, like everything exploded there. Right? I mean, it did. I think slot limits are great. I think we should try that down there, like especially for the calicos, it would help them. Like it would be good to thin them out a little bit, to take some like
3/4. 2-3
Yeah,
pounders.
yeah, for sure. Like, anything, maybe like a 14 to 20 inch or something like that. So you're kind of tapping 4-pound fish. You know what I mean? But there's so many, like, you're not hurting it. You're going to help thin it out a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I think for everything, even the yellows, like everything should have a nice slot. It's only going to help any fishery. You know what I mean? Like, there's the state that Kevin's talking about. Like, that's every time, like this past season, last time I was here, you guys, one of your questions to me was, hey, they're trying to stop all the calicos from us, catch and release. That's what the other tours are trying to talk about. You know what I mean? Like, I said it then, you know what I mean? Like, slot limits, like, look at Florida. It's a great place where this has all been already developed for years and years and years. You know what I mean? Like, we're way behind on all that. You know what I mean? We don't, California's not like a fishing state. I went to Florida. I've only been a couple times, but I went there to buy boats both times. And you fly into Orlando and there's 5 lakes in the damn airport. You know what I mean? Like, there's water everywhere, man. Like, every single driveway, there's a boat, like, everywhere.
The surface area to volume ratio of water just in that state alone.
Yeah.
Like, our backyard
fishing.
here is chaparral and desert.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just a big difference. You know what I mean? But it's interesting to hear all the things that you're saying, like the research and stuff that you've done that's really good. You know, you've done that for a lot of us. You know what I mean? Like, I don't sit in front of the computer like that to ever like learn that stuff. I never would have known any of the things he's talking about right now.
I think that there's way more out there for pro fishing access than most people realize. I only point one thing out, but I can go into. I have a lot of things I've done research. Municipal law is another big one in my opinion, and I think it's really affecting the next generation who's accessing short pounding guys.
Absolutely.
And I know a few of them. And they're having a real struggle just feeling comfortable.
There's fences and walls going up everywhere, stopping you from access. Everyone thinks their area is private now, and
it's not right.
I mean, it's hard to short fish.
Need to publish that stuff that you have somewhere where people can see it.
I mean, I have it. Whatever you guys want, I give you everything. It's not secret. It's out there. Like, if the Smithsonian wrote an article about the effects of striped bass and all the history behind it, it's available. And I'm talking like 50 plus references. This is not a closed game. I think people just don't know. They don't know how to connect the dots necessarily on this.
Right.
I think the argument definitely is there, and that's always been my thought behind that particular example of a constitutional law being infringed upon for fishermen. But I think there's more to all of this than what we're all realizing, and I think we're kind of the one thing you all have to realize if you're listening right now, and I'm sure you are. The one thing you have to realize is that numbers plays a huge part of this, and you all say, numbers affects the CCA decisions, right? You have more membership.
Yep.
You have the ability to go across the table, reach across the table and say, hey, we have 20,000 members plus. We really want to talk to you about this because it's affecting us, So the more people that get on board with it doesn't matter what organization, but whatever one leads the most and has the most members, and really if there's multiple, and if you believe in them, right? If there's multiple organizations that have the benefit for fishing as their motive of existing, which CCA is one of them, right? Recreational fishing specifically, even commercial guys are affected, honestly, by some of the decisions for CCA. Not some decisions, but some of the influence in other places that CCA, communicates with, inside of the Capitol. So and we've come to, we've reached across the table a few times with several commercial, organizations that are affected by decisions from the state and the federal council that's in charge of the federal waters. But if there's anything I could tell these guys that are just like, why should I know about this? Why should I care? And I've told people about this before. It's not necessarily about right now, not you. It's not me and you, Darren. It's not Chris, Tony. It's not Jeff.
It's the kids and grandkids.
It's the kids, man. They're not doing well right now, and you can't have a child go to court and defend themselves easily. I mean, they could, but we know better. We've learned things. We've experienced things, and that I think that holds a lot more water than just coming up with some, something. I think we have a lot more responsibility than we realize. We need to start doing something about it. Just talking about it is probably a great start,
Kevin, you mentioned that you don't participate with CCA Florida.
Not yet, yeah.
I was gonna say, what's holding you back? It's a fun group.
Learning it. I don't like getting into anything without spending my time trying to learn. I don't want to be that guy that just comes in thinking I know what I'm talking about. I want to experience redfish and tarpon and grouper and snapper and different parts.
There's no better way to learn than to get involved.
And I have. Well, to get involved, no. I don't agree. So my thing about my life is I've always had a.
Tell us about your life, Kevin.
No.
What about
you
your
been
life?
to a banquet?
That seems a little weird.
Have you been to a CCA
Different
banquet?
podcast.
No.
No. Yeah. No.
That's a 2 hour
That's
long.
the lights.
Yeah, I think that's a different time maybe, but if ever. But I just think that there's a responsibility that's not being carried out by fishermen right now. That's and I honestly want to say it's probably because we're forcing ourselves to be distracted. We're getting carried away with other things going on around us, and we're not putting our focus back on our real passion, our original passion. So people just like to. Even me, right? I make excuses like I'm too busy to come on the show. I'm going tuna fishing the next day. So last time I
Boy,
was
do
supposed
we
to be
know
on
that
here.
to be true.
Last time I was supposed to be on here, I went
He called
commercial
the day
fishing.
up. He called the day up.
I was like, dude, they're biting. I can't come.
Yeah.
So how we had to come here.
first, right?
Yeah.
Chasing the paper, man.
Yeah, exactly. Chasing the
Chasing
paper.
the paper.
Then you find it.
Well, okay, Kevin. Without we have not talked about your endeavors and all that stuff. Your current endeavors. What's going on with you?
You should let Jeff talk, man. I just took up 45 minutes.
Oh, we'll get to Jeff.
Okay. Good learning here.
Right? Dropping some knowledge.
So I work for a company called Bates Fishing Company, and in February, I actually had a really hard time with my rep business, fishing reps, and kind of winding that down right now. So I'm in the middle of like kind of phasing out of that part of my life. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to find good talent that can work for the amount of commission pay I was offering, right? So it's just a really weird dynamic right now in the financial, or not the financial, but in the world of economics. We're not really favored right now as far as sales goes inside of a retail store, right? There's
It's tough right now.
Very tough. It's very tough. So I came into it really hot. I had a really good couple years. Things happened in February that shook up my business. I had to get. Basically, I had an ultimatum from Bates, and I took it, and that was to become the VP of operations for the company. So I actually developed a lot of skills doing what I did with fishing reps that actually led into this. And since I've come on board, I mean, it's an unbelievable amount of demand that's been fulfilled. It's pretty wild to see the numbers.
Are they a Florida-based company?
Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. Out of Salina, Celina. Not Selena. They call it Salina.
Slime.
So anyways, great company. We make an all CNC bait caster. I owned up to my bet, by the way.
Yes, you
You
did.
saw that?
Yes, you
You
did.
should show the cameras that I did or something. Like originally we had a bet, and you'll get your own, by the way. Don't worry, I got you.
You got the
He threw
Cedros special
the
coming for
shock
you.
up there,
Jeff's gonna get the Mac Daddy. He's gonna get the big one for the calicos. We actually, I don't really think we have a super good yellowtail option yet, but we're gonna get there
Nice.
Can
very quick.
Bates make a 400,
So,
500 size
You
heavy duty?
you were
Left
given,
What'd you say?
Left hand.
Left hand.
and then Tony goes, yeah.
What's up with the left hand?
My right hand is my dominant hand. The
Right.
rest of the world is nuts. I don't know what's wrong with you guys.
I can tell you what's wrong with me.
Honestly, but everyone, I don't know. I want the rod in my dominant hand. I just turn the handle with my left hand.
Gotcha.
I think that's majority.
I want to
Is that
kill
how you
his
fish?
ass.
I never
Always, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, I never noticed
lefty
that.
on everything he has. Yeah,
Never noticed that.
That's why I love the Okuma stuff so much.
Yep.
really good options. And ours reels, we come out with lefties too. And we actually saw a lot of lefties compared to what probably most people do. And you can kind of see the brand is developing with younger people. Our brand's new, and we vibe with different with people that are much not culturally adjusted, or they're comfortable with exploring new brands. And I've mentioned this before on the podcast that people are looking for something new to align with. And so, our brand has come out, and we make something really, I think, badass. And it's an all CNC framed reel. out of 6061 T6 aluminum. So the reason why this is so interesting is because no one's ever done this before in the fishing industry. Like 0 people have done this. Just no companies have ever done a CNC'd low profile bait casting reel ever.
Right.
Never. So the fact that this company's new and has done this, and that's like their first initial release on their bait casters, is mind blowing. And I thought when I first found it, when I was interested in representing the company and I had the contract for them nationally, when I first found it, I thought it was just some hoax. I literally had to ask. I was like, well, what was going on with this? Because I've never heard of this before. Come to find out, the president or the CEO, excuse me, who's my boss now. He's over in Texas and he's legit. Like, we're here. Like we got ICAST and you're right there seeing the guy. So, anyways, so to answer your question, it's much easier to make a bigger reel.
ICAST story, by the way.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead.
It's much easier to make a big reel versus a small reel. It's hard to make a small reel without a CNC machine.
It's hard to make a small reel with a CNC machine.
Yes, absolutely, because the tool path is very challenging to get to.
Smaller path.
Yeah, it's and if you look at it, like when you look at the reel, if you look and you try to figure out how a machine got in some of those places, I mean, it blows me away sometimes. Like it goes up and inside the frame, and you're kind of like, wow, how did you do that? And it's one piece, right? So it's to get to that level, you're really to make a small reel. Like I said, it's much easier to do, much harder to do than a big reel. When you get bigger, much easier. So eventually, yes, we'll have something much bigger to throw. That right there is, it is unbelievable. It really is something that's special. I mean, when I first saw the 100 size, which we call the hundo, I said to the CEO, I said this reel is gonna literally be your best seller for a very long time. I don't know how long. 5 ounces and it has 14 pounds of drag. So a couple of good things about the aluminum, anodized aluminum, which is really important, is that when you have anodized CNC aluminum as your frame, one of the things that doesn't happen as easily is corrosion, right? It's very challenging it's very hard to do that. When you use a die-cast material, which is the majority of the fishing reels that are out there, or even the plastic stuff, or polymers and stuff like that, the problem with that is that the holes will get opened up more and more and more. And so when you get your reels rebuilt every year, you won't have them feel the same way. They feel like they don't feel new.
Looser. Yeah,
they feel looser, they feel grindy, and it's misalignment more than anything. You can put all the new parts in there and it will be whatever, but it won't ever feel like really the same day you bought it, right? So with our reels, because the frame's never going to corrode like that, really, in its lifetime, it'd be very hard to do. Die-cast material versus the CNC, you're looking at 3 to 6 months to a year where you start to see huge corrosion issues with die-cast. It's 5 to 10 in the same environment with CNC 6061 T6 aluminum anodized. It's very crazy. So because of that, our reel frames will last pretty much the lifetime of anyone, I would say, unless you're really banging it up like some people on the boats do. Like, we'll have a reel to fish too, by the way, for you guys. But my equivalent to that reel is an old International. The old Internationals are almost unbreakable if you keep them serviced, and they're all CNC'd and anodized. So, same with ours. So, it's really cool. It's fun, And
so, in your guys' market, you don't really have any competition.
It's very competitive, but
when it comes to the whole CNC thing,
that's what makes us special, and that's why we're really exploding in interest, is because we have something unique that new customers in the fishing community, and there's a lot of new fishermen who are looking out there, and they're looking for a way to extend their dollar value in a purchase. Now we've pretty much got it made where we're at right now. So
are you guys going to make a bigger reel?
Oh yeah.
Do you think it'll take off in the California market?
Oh, absolutely. Because the drags will be way insane. I mean, that's the great thing about it, is that when your frame is made of 6061 T6 and it's all built from one unit, there's no flex. You could take I should have brought the frame in, but the frame is so light. You could try to squish it and squash it and step on it, you won't be able to do anything. And what happens is, if you have a material that's softer, the gear will go they'll twist and go into the case, into the frame, the gear case, and this will create a lot of issues. One of the issues is that you're going to pull on the bearing for the crankshaft, and it'll break it. the races will get stripped, or not stripped, but smashed, and eventually it's going to have pits in it, and it'll be very unsmooth. You'll need to get it replaced. So our reels, the things that you're going to experience are going to get worn out the quickest are drag washers and roller bearings, the one-way directional bearing, which is your anti-reverse.
Yep.
Two things that are going to be used a lot more because there is nothing else that's going to have give. There's no forgiveness in this frame. It's just straight power, straight efficiency. There's nothing else to it. So, but yeah, making a bigger reel is and honestly, when I go to his place, I'm going to go there for a testing ground because I've done that for a few things. Cedros is like the best place to go beat something up. Like
so many bites, and you're in the salt water all day, and that one piece frame though, like, is interesting. Just I enjoy holding my reel in my hand now. Like, I'm using the smaller reels and things like that. And, I mean, I don't feel anything moving around, but I'm sure that thing is just probably stressed out, ready to blow up in my hand the way I crank, and I'm twisting the thing I'm holding, I'm yanking on the handle, I'm doing all the things, you know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to trying that something super sturdy too, you know what I mean? Like, it's fun to fish smaller gear for bigger fish, you know what I mean? Like, it is, like, you can hold it in your hand, you don't get the fatigue that you get from trying to hold on to a bigger rod and things like that. And it's almost like you're kind of trout fishing style, like where everything's up under your arm and you're almost one-handing it. But if you're in control, if you have something that's durable and strong and has the strength to pull back, you know what I mean? Like, that's you just can last longer,
Jeff, would you take the gamble and fish the hundo down at the island?
Oh, 100%.
No, I don't know.
I mean, just, short fishing or something, go to the backside over there and, throw like a little Lucky Craft or something like that. Just spool it with like 30 pound. I mean, I don't think it's pretty damn small, but it feels good. You know what I mean? Like, it just like a good short fishing, like, it looks like great for something like that over there. You know what I mean?
He's going to get the goat swim. The goat swim is a different reel. It's a deep spool. It's that frame size, but it's got a deep spool on it. And
You got the bigger one.
Oh, what the hell?
It's the one he handed
How'd
to
you
me.
end up?
It's what he handed me.
Son of a bitch.
Let's just be real. He catches bigger fish than you now.
Oh. He caught 1 4-pound calico.
You should have been there on that bidding trip. Was awesome.
Oh, that picture's sick too. Yeah.
Dude, we were fishing and I was running my mouth at Chris.
No, at me.
Actually, at her. We're talking kind of quiet, so he wouldn't hear me. We were talking about something. I was like, yeah, that's how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to up and leave. Talking about CCA. And as soon as I go to cast, bird's nest, and there goes my $20 lure.
That's
Karma's
what you
a
get.
bitch.
That's what you get.
Karma's a bitch.
Strikes quick. Yeah.
So that's the 150 frame, but the one that you're gonna get is a deep spool version of that. That's got the same guts in it. It's got brass gear and it's got a brass gear and a stainless steel crankshaft and a stainless steel worm gear for the line guide, and it's got a bigger handle on it too. It's pretty sweet.
What's the gear ratio?
That's a 7.
7.
The one, the other one.
Are they
is 7
both? They're
too.
7-1, right? Both of them.
All of these are 7 that are in here, but we make a 6.3, and we're trying to get back in the game of the 8s. But it's we had cut our own gears too, so it's a challenge to like perfect the gear production. So it's
smooth.
everything in what when I worked at Hobie and I got to see manufacturing firsthand in person. I mean, you even came up and saw. Did you ever come to the facility at the time?
I got invited.
Yeah, well, really?
He's throwing blows today. What's that all
He does that a lot. I was gonna
We
say
haven't seen our buddy in months.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Before I forget, funny ICAST story. So we were on the bus to go back to the hotel or something, and then all of a sudden there's these guys with all this baits gear, and I'm like, oh, I bet they know Kevin, and so we start talking up.
Oh
and
no.
like, you know what?
Oh no.
These got to be the Mexicans.
Yeah, exactly. And they were like, yeah, do you know Kevin? We know Kevin. He was like, and then they just started talking Spanish to each other.
Yeah.
And they're talking all kinds of shit.
El
And-
Chinito.
Yeah, and they
That's what they
they
call me.
revealed their nickname for you, El Chinito,
Yeah.
which is hilarious.
They call me that not just because I'm Asian. I'm not Chinese, I'm Japanese. Just just saying.
Throwing it out there.
Yeah. They took me to this tournament in China, Mexico. Okay. and it's like this desert dirt place.
China, Mexico.
Yeah, China. Yeah. Anyways, it's El Cuchillo is the lake, and I fished a tournament there, and I caught the biggest bass of the tournament was 10.375.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah, in the tournament. So I have my banner there, or my flag there, my face, stupid stuff.
Comical.
Yeah. It's so funny, those guys. You go down there and it's a giant party every night, and they're having a good time, and they fish hard. You want to talk about some guys that are like, you even know this. Those guys fish hard. Mexican fishermen, they're pretty badass. Yeah, they're hardcore. They fish with a lot less stuff than we get to fish with, but they're very aware of the behavior of the fish, more so than I think anyone else is. Like it's to the captain level. You know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
You know, Tony knows. Like you start to know fish behavior when you spend enough time on the water. And Jeff's guys, Jeff literally knows too. I mean, like you spend enough time on the water, and you don't have as much. You get to be like,
It clicks.
oh, you know what's gonna bite, when it's gonna bite, how it's gonna bite. So
Well, he's over at Cedros. He knows that island.
Yes, he does.
Tomorrow.
well,
Like he said before, he'll hear everybody's going to go to this spot tomorrow.
I was about to mention
But he's
that.
like, no, we're not going there. We're going to go over here where nobody's at, and I guarantee you it's going to bite. And sure enough, man, we had a great fucking time over there.
Even if you don't get the guaranteed bite, like you investigate and find out something.
But that's the thing, though, is that he knows the island. Go
You
with
just
what he
gotta
says.
go. Like
Yeah.
it's 100%. Like if we have good weather, like you definitely want to go where everyone else said there's no fish. They don't fish the same.
Right.
They don't. They blow through areas. They don't take their time. They're not looking for conditions. They're not doing anything. They're just rushing through there. So
Yeah.
all that is. That's why I always want to go to their spots.
What
So-
the heck? Did
on
you
in,
schedule
man.
another guy?
Get in here, man. Get in here and say hi.
Dang.
Are you guys live?
Yeah.
Come
All-star.
on in.
Are you live too right now?
Not live on YouTube. It will be live.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What you guys?
What's up?
Howard.
I wasn't flexing there, man. What up, dude? How you doing?
Fantastic.
Are you coming in on this
How's that
podcast too? Where's this sixth mic? You want to share one with me?
I don't think so.
You want to share one with me?
Yeah, you want to come say hi,
Yeah.
Howie? You got some time?
What are you doing here,
I got a
anyways?
couple minutes.
What are you doing? That's kind of rude.
Showed up for lunch. You heard we were talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
I'm here a lot more than
Grab
you
that
do,
chair.
so-
Grab that chair. What is he doing here, anyways? Is he doing a Newport thing?
He's our roommate.
No, we're roomies.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I talked Chris into letting me share some warehouse space with him. And so this is where Newport behind the scenes happens.
Newport behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you schedule this?
No, I just came in to check on something.
No. I just spent an hour with that mic. At
I'm
least.
bummed I'm this late to the game.
Oh, it's all good.
Hi, Tony.
Hey, Howie.
Hi, Darren.
How's it going, man?
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Howie.
Do you have anyone else coming?
No.
This is
You,
it.
you missed Danny Wade this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's going to be a great one.
Yeah. Howie, what's up, man? What's new?
Oh man, it's Friday again, so
Yeah.
I'm just excited about that.
Howie has an
That's exactly-
amazing Cedros story. Actually, a few.
I do.
Yeah. With Jeff. Yeah.
Okay.
Tell him about the white shark.
The shark one.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I'm not. I can. I'm not worried about it.
It won't scare many people away. Don't worry.
My favorite fishing related. Well, they're both fishing related, but my favorite shark experience was, we were off the north end on that high spot.
Mm-hmm.
Remind me the name of it again. It's like 40 foot high spot with kelp growing on it.
Just up by Punta Norte area.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know the specific name of the rock, but
Anyways, so I think I told this story on the podcast already one time.
Maybe.
We got dropped off in the Ponga, and the drift was really fast. There was a lot of wind that day, and so I just kind of jammed up swell for a little bit
On a kayak.
on a kayak, and saw this like big dark thing blob just coming, just kind of like walking down swell. I was like, what the heck? So I stood up in my kayak for a second. It was pretty choppy, so I wasn't super keen on standing up for a long time to stand on my feet, but I kept kind of like watching it. I'm like, is that a shark? But it's like 50 feet wide. And I'm like, this is weird. So it gets a little closer to me, and I look, and it's just 200 yellows just swimming with this shark. And so then I learned what they do, and they ram the shark until it either dies or moves on. So that was cool.
What kind of shark was it?
I think it was a white shark, but definite white shark story was at Bonitos.
I think that's the one I was gonna.
Yeah, so that day you pick which, if you wanted to fish boiler rock foam, there was calicos and yellows in there, uptight to all edges of the island. We were smoking them that day.
Yeah, it was good fishing.
And there was just a ton of bird life outside in a few hundred feet of water. So I pedaled out there by myself, which is you feel pretty exposed out there when you start getting away from the island.
And Bonitos is pretty deep.
It's deep water.
There's nothing.
Deep.
It's basically a pinnacle that the top's sticking out of the water, right? I mean, yeah. You go a little off the island and it's deep. And just crazy blue. It was awesome, but pedaled out there to check out some bird school stuff that I saw happening. Was out there for a couple hours catching yellows, and I'm like just off in no man's land by myself. And so I'm fighting this yellow, and I think I got it on GoPro. You couldn't see the shark, but fighting this yellow, I like kind of look over the side. It's right at color, and then I kind of like see something out of the corner of my eye. So I look. This white, about probably 14-foot white sharks swimming at me, literally going probably 20 or 30 miles an hour. And I was just like, so I ended up with this fish like half in my lap, half hanging over the side, and this white shark just was like, and just turned off, and I never saw it again.
Jeez.
But it was pretty exciting.
Is that the one you have the GoPro footage of? Or is it the other one? Both of them?
Both.
Yeah.
That would scare me shitless.
It's not all that impressive.
We ran into that Mako that one time heading out.
Yeah.
Coming right at
It's
us.
interesting, the stuff that's happened on the Hobie trips, though.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
I can
always
imagine.
when the Hobie guys come down, like, I mean, that's when the world record was caught, but just a lot of interesting stuff has
Yeah.
always happened. You know?
Jeff, do you,
So much
do you
life.
still
It's
go to
crazy.
Bonitos? Or can you still go to Bonitos?
We can. I didn't go this year at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some political nonsense going on down there. Natividad's closed to us right now, and Chester's Rock is closed to us. So, but we could still, if we wanted to go to Bonitos. The fishing was so good on Cedros this year, there was really no reason to
No reason to
go
go
over
anywhere.
there. Nah.
You guys probably talked about this, but like those surface squid balls and stuff.
Oh, it
What
was
the heck?
really, really
No,
silly.
we didn't talk about that. What's
Yeah,
up?
we haven't gotten into that.
It's crazy.
It happened.
We've gotten
it was
into
going on
everything
for
except
quite a
that.
long time this year.
Really?
Yeah, just squid floating middle of the day. I have.
It's like big squid too, right?
It was good. Well, I mean, the market size stuff, you know, that we would eat. Like I bagged a bunch of it, but I have video of like dolphin on one side and the yellows on the other, like just washing it. I have underwater video too, like, and you can hear the dolphin talking and stuff. It's pretty rad. And then that same day, like we took the squid, and so we made squid. We were whacking the yellows. That was all happening in the south end of the island. The people I was with, they had saw some whale bones that they wanted us to get for the house. So we went back to town, dropped off the fish, kept some squid, drove all the way to the North Point to go get the whale bones. And then since we were right there, a couple days prior, there was a big bait ball. So I wanted to go see if it was still there. We went around the corner, the bait ball was there, and we just used sliding egg sinker and just the fresh dead and put it down in the bait. And it was like 35 pounders. I thought we all got bit on white sea bass. Everyone bent over the same. I'm like, yes, we found the white sea bass. And it was like just giant yellows, like
Nice.
all in this green water. They were all super light colored. It was really interesting. But like, yeah,
that's
there's
cool.
so much squid there this year. A ton of squid.
It's crazy.
Wow. That's
awesome.
crazy. Well, this episode kind of took a turn.
Sorry.
Let's just say that.
I'm gonna go do my duties.
No,
Or should I hang out?
You can
You don't want to hang out?
Okay. All right, fine. If you guys want me, I'll stay. But,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
You're not interrupting anything.
All right.
yeah. Well, that's going to do it. No, I'm just kidding. Well, Well, guys, this has been phenomenal. Kevin, do you
Are
have
you
any
going
other?
into part 2 or what?
We're like an
gotta
hour
go.
and a half in.
I know, so
Come
you
back
should
another
cut.
day for that, Kevin.
No, I'm not going to be here. I'll be gone. Just
Yeah.
do a part 2. Come on.
It's a quick and dirty. Jeff, what's going on in 2025 with Cedros? I know you've got some stuff on the books now, but it's super exciting. I'm stoked for you.
Yeah, thanks. Just the same program. We're I'm just signing people up, and I'm going to be down there pretty much all season myself. So I'll be fishing with people, working on getting this 19-footer down to the island. It's
Is that the same one that we picked up that one time?
Yeah, that you guys helped me with. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm going to put a 200 on there, and
A whaler?
little
You
whaler.
put 200 on that?
I'm going to put a 200. Well,
That'll
when
get you around
when
the
you
island.
look at like the 150,
The
which
little
is,
thing that we picked up.
Yeah. So, but the 150 is what it's rated for. It's rated for 150.
Right.
The difference between the 150 and the 200 is 3 pounds, and it's a
Oh, wow.
computer change. So why wouldn't you
That's
put
right.
the 200 on there? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The weight is the same. So I'm not trying to go 60, but when I pass you at 55, zipping around. But yeah, that's my plan is to get that down there. My plan is also to get my captain's license if it works out. That's
Oh,
like
awesome.
breaking news for everybody right there.
Nice.
So we'll see if that can come to fruition, if they'll let me through the class. I think I have all the paperwork, so it would be great to
Yeah.
be down there, like, taking 2 guys on that boat. I want to put a spot lock on the front, and I got all my Garmin gear on there, and
When you
it
say
should be pretty
captain's
rad.
license for U.S. or Mexico?
For Mexico, I want to drive the boat down there. I want to take us fishing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have to worry about, did my captain go drink last night, or you know what I mean? Was his kid's birthday and now he's got to use the restroom. We got to go back to shore. Did they put enough fuel on the boat? You know what I mean? All the things
Yeah.
I kind of dealt with this year by renting someone else's boat. Like I want
It's
to
all
get
safety,
Yeah, I want to
liability.
get all rid of all that again. Go back to getting in the boat in the driveway, driving down the street, launching. It was nice. You know what I mean? Trying to walk out on the dock and stuff, battle all the other people that are down there. It's not even worth it. You know what I mean?
What are the requirements
silly.
like for getting a license in Mexico?
Get a physical and sit through a class. Like it's really very simple. Like, so hopefully they'll let me sit through it, and
But you
there's
have
no
to be
real
a
test.
Mexican citizen.
You have to be part of their program, yeah.
Yeah.
So which I'm right. I mean, I'm one step below citizenship. I can apply if I want. Like the permanent residency is
Yeah, right.
should be more than enough to get me through to be able to sign up and all that. So yeah, we'll see. That's the goal though, to get my own boats again, get back on that program, and yeah, just fish, do our normal
Yeah.
thing, fly from TJ like we're doing, and our trip is the same as it's always was. It's all inclusive. I can't sell beer. That's the only thing. So you got to bring beer money and then tip money for the crew. Other than that, everything, first day of fishing, all of that stuff's included.
So you've got a world record, the all tackle world record for broomtail grouper,
I do
108.6 pounds.
Jeez.
0.9, yes.
Is it 0.9? Yeah. Okay, 0.9. My bad.
Don't shortchange them.
We waited on film at 0.6, but when they calibrated the scale, they gave us 3/10. So
There you go.
we'll
There you
take
go.
it.
So there's that record that you've set, but is there a record that you think could get broken again, or that's currently out there right now that you think is at Cedros?
Yes, for sure. Like the pinto bass record is I think at 10 pounds or
What's a
something like
pinto
that.
bass?
It's
Oh.
kind of a cross between all the bass species.
Oh, really?
And they're delicious to eat, and they're abundant down there.
I caught a whole bunch of those during Tony Reyes. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And they're delicious.
Really good.
They're delicious.
What do
Yeah.
they look
So they look like a giant spotty.
Yeah.
The golden spotted bass, I think, is a lot of people call them that as well. So
Wait,
I think
what are
that
the goldfish looking ones?
Those are the.
Those are
Garibaldi?
Cabrera.
Careful.
Yeah,
You're wrong.
Yeah, Chris.
not wrong. I caught some giant barracuda this year.
Really?
The barracuda record is only like 10 or 11 pounds. Like I've caught 11 pounders at San Clemente Island. So like that's another something that
What's this white sea bass record down there?
on the island for people, like, I don't know, like, there was some 70s caught this year, like,
Oh wow.
giants.
The
like,
all
absolutely
tackle is
huge.
very large,
90 something, yeah,
I bet
90
it
something.
is.
I think it's 98 or something
Yeah,
like
really?
For
that.
barracuda?
No, white sea
No,
bass.
I see that.
That a kayaker last year, 2 years ago or something, got a
Brian
90 something
Fagan, I think. Yeah.
out of like Dana Point or
No, I think it was La Jolla.
Jeez.
There's huge ones of those down there.
Yeah.
So I think my thing next year for sure is I'm going to really push the black sea bass thing on people. Like, I want people to
I'm down.
experience that. You know what I mean? Like, because it's pretty fun. The yellows, like, it's a bycatch almost to me. Like, when they're biting, man, let's go. Like, it's fun. It's fun for me. But like chasing those things all day, man, I have a better chance of getting a good one if I'm calico fishing. Is what I tell everyone the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, let's go calico fish. We're gonna find the right conditions. We're gonna find good bait. Probably we can make bait. That's where you're gonna find your big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, going and trying to chase the 15s around all day, and all the other boats are out there running around. Like, it's like the last thing I want to do down there ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How's the crew?
The crew's great. You
How
know
are
what I
they
mean?
doing?
Everyone's fantastic. Like, they're eagerly, waiting to see all the people. Like, they ask about you guys, they ask about Kevin. Like, they want to see people come back. So they knew last year was our bounce back year. I wasn't planning on going to really do anything, but I figured, let's just see if we can't, get it started a little bit, and which we did. I mean, we had a great time. Every group that came down, we had a fabulous time. So looking forward to having all those people hopefully call me back and say they want to come back too for next year. And
How could you not? How could you not come back?
right now I think the next couple of weeks everyone's just like, there's some big decisions coming. Next
Yes,
week's a
there
big
is.
week. Like, a lot of people are getting stressed out. Like,
Yeah.
let all that fizzle out, let Christmas hit and stuff like that. And I'm thinking like good things. I've talked to a bunch of people. Like, it's just, I'm not pressing nobody. You know what I mean? Like, it's, I'm not, I run differently than everyone else. I'm not I'm not quick to ask you for a deposit or any of that kind of stuff. I just, I believe in people. Like, let's just come down and have fun. That's my whole theory down there. You know what I mean? Just to have fun. Listen to the island, have a good time. You know what I mean? Do what everyone else is not doing,
Yeah.
which is run into the same spot. I don't know why everyone wants to get a limit of yellows every single day. What are you doing with all that? They're sending it home with you frozen. Come on, man. Like, I know you're wasting it. Like,
Yeah.
I know it. You know what I mean? I know this. Like, it's
Spend a day
there's
just
so
targeting
much
different
other
species.
you're gonna get a way bigger fish somewhere else. You know what I mean? I promise you that. You know what I mean? Like, I promise that. And even where they go and they're fishing for black sea bass, like, they're all huddled up on the same few rocks. And man, there's just about 500,000 million rocks down
Yeah.
there to go try to find your own. You know what I mean? I've developed my own spot. I've only been down there, I think, 2012, so about 12 years now. I got some amazing spots. I went to these same rocks, every single group. If I was in the area on the North Point, if I was up there by where I call the White Rock right there, where all the seals are barking, and I put myself in 40 feet and went off that ledge at 60 to 100, every time white sea bass, every time black sea bass, every time yellowtail. Like, it was just like
Wow.
every group. And like, so you can start developing things like that. That's why people, there's nothing up there. Oh, just let me go. Just take me. You know what I mean? Now I started fishing bait. I did a lot of bait fishing this year. And, man, it was definitely the year for big fish this year. I was getting broke off on 60. That's pretty rare. I don't lose many
Wow.
fish. You know what I mean? I was getting straight smoked on good gear, 60 pound, getting just tooled on the max
Wow.
stick, getting broke off, live bait getting broke off. Like, there's some goodness to be tapped in at that island. Like, if we start fishing more how we fish around here, like, man, I'm excited for that. You know what I mean? Big halibut too, man. In 100 feet, big 30s.
Wow.
Oh.
Big ones.
That's rad.
No one's fishing them.
The best, funnest fishing I had down there was straight big ones in like 35 feet of water, and that was epic.
Yeah.
I would take that challenge
Yeah.
any day.
My buddy,
It was awesome.
he hooked and got it was 41 on the scale when we got home, and we were in 10 feet.
Gnarly.
10 feet of water on
That's awesome.
on surface iron.
That's like Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, and I had talked about that a bunch to him, like, oh man, this happens down here all the time, and then it happened to him, and he was just like, you know what I mean?
crazy.
Like, just
That's cool.
it's fun to see that. Like, I like that when the right people get the bite. You know what I mean? Like, I get plenty of bites down there, plenty of bites. Like, so it's fun to have people come down and have that happen.
Well, I know in 2025 we're all going. Howie, are you gonna go down to Cedros next year?
Sign me up.
Yeah, we need a kayak trip. I did only a couple kayak trips this year, but man, that place is so bitchin'.
Yeah.
We don't know what we did for those first few years. Like, man, we had some fun. We did some cool shit. Like, some of those places where we fished, like they're not biting as well. Like, we just got to experience so much. And this year, I got to go far on the backside. I was with Chris Minnick, and he wanted a kayak. We went for a 2-hour boat ride, got ourselves way back in the back, and it was insanity back there on the kayak. Absolute insanity. Like, I hooked everything all in the same day. It lost most of it because it was just giants, man. Big bait school. There I am fishing the hookup bait. Immediate yellows. Like, just smoking me, man. 20, 30 feet of water. Like, no chance. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Paddling around the kelp, all of a sudden, just 100 white sea bass. I caught 15. You know what I mean? Like, they were 32 inches, but they tasted delicious. Like, they were delicious. You know what I mean? Super fun for the guys. Like, everyone's putting 2 or 3 in their lap at a time. Like, they're all legal. It's like, why not take them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was making everyone super happy. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, I'm bouncing the kelp some more. Boom, giant black. No chance to stopping them. Had my rod in the kelp, like it was like trying to tip me over, break everything. Like, it's such a rad fishery, man. Like, there's so much to do. Like, there's no reason to ever do the same thing twice.
Right.
Ever at that place. If you have weather, definitely try to go anywhere but where you went the day before.
Perfect.
Well, we're going to do probably something similar to this towards the end of the year, but Howie, we'll start with you. 2025 goals. Since we're all here in the room as a family, 2025 goals for you fishing-wise.
Fishing goals?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Fish Clementi more, I think, would be general number one. Fish goals, I mean, 24 is not over yet, but I wanted to catch a cow out of a kayak or a small...
Why are you laughing?
Us or like one of our skiffs. Because that last year, that stuff was like 2 miles off the beach in Encinitas for a little while and whatever. Gettable, like so easily gettable. Just go do it. It hasn't happened this year yet, but that I know of at least.
You should do it on that skiff that you got out here.
That's what I want to do. I mean, so that would be like ultimate fishing goal, I think.
I'll give everyone a hint. That skiff is going to play a big role next year in a big event. I think, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Whatever you need.
That'd be good.
Wow. Was that a sponsorship grab right there? Yeah, that's pressure.
Yeah, whatever you need.
Kevin? Granted, you're probably not going to be in California, but in Florida, what do you hope to do?
No, well, it won't be in Florida. If I can finally land a tarpon, I think that would be a good one. That would be a great goal. But actually, my goals changed like as of yesterday. I really think I'm going to be down in Australia at some point, and I really want to get above a 60-pound yellowtail. I really want to do that.
Kingfish.
Real kingfish, yeah.
Kingfish.
On a stick bait or a slow pitch jig or a vertical jig. Just get absolutely wrecked. That's my goal.
How's the peacock fishing coming along?
Oh, Amazon or Florida?
Florida.
Oh, it's not in my hood. It's not in Jacksonville hood.
Excuse me.
No, it's in Miami. Yeah, that stuff's
South,
like
yeah.
West Palm, all that area.
Miami's not that far from Jacksonville.
It's 8 hours.
So?
It's like going to the capital here from
It's
San
okay.
Diego. You know, pretty far.
It's not that far.
I'm not a big fan. I've caught
I've
peacock
made
bass
that
in my
drive.
life in Hawaii, but I'm not a big fan of the stuff in Florida. If I go do it, it will be in the Amazon. So, and I would really like to do that.
Right.
So,
You had your shot this year.
sore subject. But yeah, Australia and a big kingfish is my.
Nice.
Aside from Cedros, I have never hooked into a giant yellowtail in Cedros that I've landed most stuff I've hooked into over there. Even black sea bass I've landed, but I'd rather see what Jeff's talking about. And Morgan and Howie had the experience like multiple times getting absolutely messed up.
Yeah.
So I'd love to experience that. I have not gotten that
Yeah,
experience
that's the same here.
yet. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And
Jeff,
you know when you hook one that's 50.
Yeah.
It's immediate. Like they don't act like any other fish. It's just immediate heavy weight and they're gone.
Hang on.
That's
What about you? What's your goal?
don't get mad.
You gotta talk closer.
But I would love to have like 200 days on the island next year. Would be
Wow.
sick for me. Good flashback to like
200 days.
2021. Yeah, like
That would
like
be
all
awesome.
like damn near 200 days. That'd be
cool.
that'd be sick. Yeah, so
That'd be good.
That'd be a good goal for me.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. That's cool.
I haven't fished in like 3 years. I've been just kind of stuck on this construction job. So next year's a fishing year anyway. But like, there's no better place to go fish. Like if you really hunker down over there and fish the way we fish, like there's everything there. You know what I mean?
So
There-
you'll basically, you're planning on being on every single trip that you book for 25.
Yeah, I want to be standing there at the airport saying hello to you when you get off the plane. Would be
Nice.
amazing for me. Yeah.
Nice.
So
And goodbye when we leave, and hello to the next group coming in.
sorry you're leaving, but get the fuck out.
Yep. Got a new group coming in. That's it.
Oh man, that's cool. That's cool. Well, I'm glad we made this happen, Howie. It's
Surprise.
awesome.
Yeah, thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, for sure.
It should always be like this. It's like it's more fun. You know,
like
a
There's-
barber
there's a
shop.
bunch of topics. There's a bunch of topics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes it
Yeah.
easy. Everyone's experienced what we've, especially for me. Like these guys have experienced my stuff. Like, and then I
Yeah.
get to come. I'm learning new stuff. From like especially Kev today about the reels and stuff. Like about all that striped bass.
Mhm.
Like that's interesting stuff. You know what I mean?
You'll have to
It's-
listen to that.
It is pretty funny that the things that have caused the most damage to the fisheries, the quagga mussel, the striped bass, as Kevin brought out today, we did this. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
this didn't like some bird didn't like fly from Tennessee with this mussel, you know what I mean, attached to his foot, and then he decided to drop in a
it,
skinner
yeah.
one day, and next thing you know, we got quagga mussel everywhere. You know what I mean? No, man, they brought it to get rid of something else. You know what I mean? Like they brought carp to get rid of something else.
Yes.
And it just destroys everything. Like I want to go research this because, dude, a lot of people we don't get to fish salmon, right? Like for how many years now, right?
2.
Did this fish that we brought that is a striped bass like destroys
Eats
lakes,
everything.
eats everything. You know what I mean? They are crazy predators. Like, did they hurt the salmon? So you did this?
Self-inflicted.
Self-inflicted, but no ownership taken.
Newsom's grandpa?
Grandpa Brown? Grandpa Brown?
Anyways, but I had to throw in my 2 cents. I kind of sat quiet during the whole thing, you know what I mean? But it's reality. Like even for someone like myself, I'm an outsider to the real research of it all. But we start pointing fingers. It's not me fishing,
No.
leaving my line, leaving my trash. I went and I just helped my friend Chris in Newport. He's doing lobster guy, right? The amount of trash that he catches in his traps, you guys. I would think plastic and the other crap, diapers and all this nonsense
Oh.
is killing a lot more fish than me leaving my lead weight on the bottom that got snagged in a rock.
Yeah.
Just saying. I don't know. It was pretty disgusting looking at his traps. The amount of trash I had to clean out. Like, how does that stuff even get in there? If it gets in there, how much is really down there? Because somehow it got into the trap
Yeah.
through the current, and there's a small hole for the lobster to get in, but water bottles and all this other crap is in this dude's trap. Like, it's nuts. You know what I mean? That's the stuff killing fish.
Yeah.
That is really what's killing fish. You know
There are
what I mean?
definitely a lot of problems in the water off California. We're not one of them.
Yeah,
There's no way.
Isn't this most southern MLPA that's kind of goes between Mexico and California? Isn't there raw sewage flowing into that thing?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's protect the raw sewage.
Well-
You can't fish here.
So
Yeah, because I go to Rosarito a lot, so I still want that stuff to flow out. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Blocking my poop trail.
Jump trail. Jesus.
they get so bad down there that Coronado Beach has to get closed. They will not
Yes.
let people swim.
I
for
think they
months.
have the most amount of total closed days on the
I
water
read something
in the
like
whole
that
state.
somewhere, yeah.
It came out like recently, I think over the last
That's gnarly.
handful of years. Like there are more days that it's closed than it is open.
It's wrong.
It's crazy.
Very wrong.
They're looking in the wrong areas.
Yeah. That's a great note to leave it on. Guys, thank you again for coming in. Kevin, it's good to see you, man.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
It has been a long time.
You did 1.5 parts for him.
Yeah. Are we all going to ICAST? Are you? Maybe you should go to ICAST.
I want to go to ICAST.
Jeff, are you going to ICAST?
Jeff will be my guest.
I just want to go to lunch right now.
Where are we going?
I would love to go. I would love to go.
I was gonna say we should plan like a couple days ahead of ICAST. Let's all go fish or something.
Yeah.
Like
Heck yeah.
I would
Pretty
love
cool.
that.
I
Where's
want
it at this
to. I
year?
want to do a tarpon day, and I want to do a redfish day.
that. Okay.
All
Wait,
in
okay.
Jacksonville.
Is
It's
it-
it's right there.
Is it red drum or redfish,
Same
or
thing.
is it
Same
regional?
thing.
Same thing.
Depending on where you live, they call it different things.
Yes.
Oh, but it's all the same.
It's all the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They call largemouth bass green trout some places.
Green trout.
They do. They call them green trout.
True story.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that is going to do it for this wonderful edition of the CCA California podcast. Good to be with you. Thank you so much for following us on Instagram and also subscribing to our podcast. And everyone, wave goodbye to the cameras.
Goodbye.
We'll see you guys soon. Take care.